Well, hello and welcome, Power Partners, to our informational playground, Starstyle. Be the star you are. We're brought to the airwaves under the auspices of Be the Star You Are charity. I am your host, Cynthia Brian, and we are coming to you through Voice America Media. We're on the Empowerment Channel. We have a terrific show for you today. In segment one, according to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, every year, incidents involving electrical equipment like extension cords, outlets, light bulbs result in more than 41,000 residential fires, and those claim about 350 lives and cause over 1,400 injuries. So those fires also cause more than $620 million in property damage annually. I want to keep you safe. And do you know how to keep safe with your electrical appliances? That's coming up in segment one. In segment two, if you live in an area that is susceptible to earthquakes, as I do here in California, are you ready for what we call the big one? On October 17th, 1989, the San Francisco Bay Area experienced a 6.9 magnitude quake, and that was known as the Loma Prieta earthquake. Since that date, there have been thousands of earthquakes of various magnitudes. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had a big shaker in the middle of the night, actually 3 a.m. exactly, 4.3, woke everybody up. So I want to discuss how to prepare for an emergency and how to check your home after you've had an earthquake. So this is our safety show because we believe in safety first. The miracle moment for today, brought to you by Be the Star You Are, is from Ludwig van Beethoven. To play a wrong note is insignificant, but to play without passion is inexcusable. Yes, we need passion in life. And one note before I start talking about electrical safety is the new book, Flap Forward, Fly Free, has arrived at the Be the Star You Are studios now. Copies are available. So when you order from the store at bethestarur.org, you will get autographed copies plus some extra goodies, and it's all for the same price that you would pay if you were to go to Amazon or any other store. You just get a few more things, and the sale is as a donation. So check that out. Go to bethestarur.org and click at the top on the store. Now, this is a safety with electricity. So it doesn't matter whether you're just going out for the day or you're going on vacation. But I think these are some tips that can keep you safe. Now, of course, when you're leaving your home or your apartment, you do remember to lock the door, right? But for most other things, we probably need a reminder. And of course, if you're going away for a few days, it's actually more important that you follow some of this because there are a lot of items that are using up electricity while you're not at home. And those can be from small kitchen appliances to gaming consoles. And some devices are continuing to draw power even when they're turned off. And if you're trying to watch your electricity bill, because everything is going up these days, you're going to want to unplug everything. But unplugging goes beyond saving electricity. What I really am talking about is fire safety. As I said that at the top of the hour, that every year incidents involving electrical equipment result in about 41,000 residential fires, claim 350 lives, cause over 1,400 injuries, resulting in over $620 million in property damage annually. And so you can protect yourself. If you are headed out of town, you're always going to lock that door, grab your suitcase, hopefully tell a neighbor to watch your house. But it's really important to, before you leave, to do a once over in every room and make sure several items are unplugged. And I think that you will find that it's going to save your electricity, but it's going to protect you against fires. So, and let's start with the kitchen. Small kitchen appliances. We have a lot of countertop appliances these days, and they draw power when they're plugged in. And whether you're using them or not, it is really important to unplug them to avoid any unwarranted electrical surges. Now, I mean, it goes beyond using the power. So I actually unplug most of my things just as soon as I'm done using them. Then one of the biggest fire hazards is a toaster. People don't think about that, but I guess because the toaster gets the crumbs in it, if there's a power surge, you could get it turned on, you can have a fire. So just unplug your toaster after you use it. The same thing goes for a coffee pot or an espresso machine. If you're going on vacation, you'd want to unplug a microwave, air fryer, blender, an electric kettle, any slow cookers or rice cookers, electric skillets, or food processors. Again, my rule of thumb is that anything that sits on the counter, I unplug. Now, if it's a built-in microwave, you're not going to unplug it. But if it sits on the counter, unplug these things when they are not in use. Now, heaters, space heaters are super dangerous. And even when they're closely attended, but if you are leaving the room or much more leaving the house, make sure they are unplugged. You don't want to just turn them off. You want to unplug them because a space heater that is left plugged in increases the risk of fire. Now, some other things that should be unplugged, if you have an electric blanket or a heating pad, these also pose a fire risk, and they should be unplugged anytime they are not in use. And that really goes on a daily basis. Now, maybe an easy way to do it, what I have done is I have got a surge protector that has like 5 plugs on it. And anything, because I do have for winter an electric blanket. So if you have a couple of things, that you think need to be unplugged, maybe you have a charger plugged in there too, you can just turn off the surge protector and that'll turn everything off. But you should also unplug chargers. And when it comes to chargers, particularly lithium ion batteries, they all need to be unplugged before you are leaving your home because unattended charging increases the chance of overcharging. And when overcharged, lithium ion batteries could overheat, they can explode, and they can catch fire. And the Homeland Security and Emergency Services attest to that. So you really want to be careful about that. Now, if you are a gamer and you have a gaming console, even if your gaming console is turned on, most of those electronic devices are still drawing electricity. So it's important to make sure they're unplugged when you're not using them. Computers, desktop, and laptops, they fall victim to electrical surges if plugged in. And to avoid this and any costly repairs or replacements, you should unplug them before walking out the door, no matter what. Again, I bought a powerful surge protector to plug in my computer and my printer, all those kind of things. And so the good news is I'm not going to get an electrical surge, but I do unplug it for sure. Now, air conditioning, like the window units, there's no need to cool a house if nobody's going to be there. So if you're using a window air conditioner or even, a portable air conditioner, unplug it. And if you are leaving on vacation and you have that window unit, make sure to remove that so you can shut and lock your window. That is not only going to protect you against fires, but against theft. Hairstyling tools. Now, The age old, did I remember to unplug my hair straightener? This is really important when you are heading out the door. It is important to unplug any hair dryers, straighteners, curling irons, um, heating, what are they called? Hot rollers, any electrical hair tools. Those should be only plugged in when you are using them and then unplug them immediately. Now, here are some things, though, that you want to leave plugged in. If you're in a rush to unplug everything, but make sure you still are, if you're going to be flying or you're going on vacation or you're going even to work, these are some these household items that you should never unplug. First of all, I guess it makes sense. You don't want to unplug your refrigerator or your freezer. They need to remain plugged in, even if you're going on an extended trip. The items inside rely on constant temperatures to remain cold and freezing and frozen. And if you unplug them, then you're going to spoil everything. Now, if you lose power and you don't have any backup system, you're going to lose everything anyway. The same thing goes for deep freezers. Routers and modems should also remain plugged in because they don't use a ton of energy, and disconnecting them can also interfere with any connected devices that help you run your home, like thermostats or home security systems. Now, something this has to do with both flooding and fires, and that is I don't do this on a daily basis when I just go to work, but if I'm leaving it literally just for overnight or for more than 15 hours, I turn off the main water to the house and unplug the water heater. And the reason for that is that way, if you had a water main break, you have a toilet that backs up, or you had like an angle stop break, that's either on a sink or a toilet, you would not flood your entire house. Water is the number one cause of insurance claims for houses and apartments. Not only does it cause mold and mildew, but the water damages floors, rugs, walls, wall coverings, draperies. It depends if it's on the first floor, second floor, but it can be disastrous. But if you turn off your main water and you have a water heater, it could be a gas water heater, but it's plugged in because it has an electric start. Make sure you unplug that so you don't blow up your water heater. So I hope those are some helpful tips for you to avoid any fires. You really do want to make sure that you are protected. And one other thing, if you have gas in your house, you also want to make sure that all the gas is turned off and that your ovens are turned off. I know that there have been times where, you put a muffin in the oven on low and then you leave for work and you forget to take out the muffin. And so the oven's on all day. But that could be very dangerous. Also, you could ask your gas company if you have gas. There are devices you can put on your main gas line that in the event of an earthquake or any kind of disturbance, it would automatically shut off. So you're listening to Cynthia Brian. This is Starstyle, Be the Star You Are. This is the first safety tip for the day. When we come back from a quick break, we're going to talk about earthquakes and how you can protect yourself and your belongings in your home from that. Don't go away. You're listening to Starstyle, Be the Star You Are. I'll be right back. Everyone wants to have friends and everyone wants to be successful. But how do you make friends, find love, trim down, shape up, defeat boredom, discover your purpose, make a fortune, and be successful? Well, first of all, you have to make room for reflection. And the best way to start is just to start. You want to dive in with passion. Remember what was said in the miracle moment for today, that we really have to have passion in our lives, that without passion, anything is inexcusable. You want to stay active and involved. Open your heart and your mind. Play more. Ask for help. Keep looking forward, give compliments, and always say thankful and be grateful. Remember, you're the star of your own performance. Turn your passions into profits. I'm Cynthia Brian with another business bite from Starstyle. For more information, visit cynthiabrian.com, and that's Brian with an I. Well, we're back. Thank you for staying with me here on Star Style. Be the star you are. I am your host, Cynthia Brian, and this is our safety show. And in this segment, I want to talk about earthquakes because a couple of weeks ago, we had a 4.3 earthquake at 3 a.m. that literally shook the room, shook the bed, shook me awake. And it made me start thinking about earthquakes again. I know that back in the 1989 earthquake, fortunately, it was a World Series game day that was being played in San Francisco. Otherwise, there would have been many, many, many more casualties because so many people were at the game and taking the days off. But I was in San Francisco on that day in a four-story building made of glass that all shattered. It was really frightening. I got on the bridge and only to have to back down off the bridge because part of the bridge had collapsed. So it was very frightening, and it was many, 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 many hours before I was able to get home, and it felt like a war zone because all the electricity had been knocked out. Gas tanks were the gas stations, the gas was like squirting everywhere. Roads were, some of them were like 8 feet higher than the other. It was really scary. And that was just a 6.5, I think, earthquake 6.4. So there are some things, and I go through my own house regularly. So what do you do? I mean, after an earthquake, even if there are no obvious signs of damage, it's really important to expect and to inspect your home for any hidden issues. And so I want to walk you through your property and help you identify um, potential hazards. Because if you find any structural, gas, or electrical concerns, you need to contact a professional immediately. And interestingly, even small quakes can weaken the structures in ways that may not be visible at first, but could cause damage later. So, first of all, before we check the exterior and interior of the home, I just want to make sure that anything that you have inside your home that is really heavy, like bookcases or breakable things that are on walls, they really should be bolted to your walls so that they will not fall off in a shake because people get killed by things falling on top of them. And if there is an earthquake, you want to either get into, if you can, if you're in the house, get between under a door, the door jamb, because that's usually a good structural thing, or under a heavy desk or a heavy table, or preferably in a room that has no windows, but get away from the glass because that shaking glass can really be very, very dangerous. And if you're outside, stay away from trees and structures. Try to get to an open space. When we had the big earthquake in '89, many people who had swimming pools, their swimming pools cracked, and then there was water leakage. I mean, it was really awful, and pipes broke, and it was really scary. But here's a checklist of what to do to go around your home. So first, let's go to the exterior. You want to walk around your house and look at the foundation. You want to see if there are any new or any widening cracks and anything that's diagonal because those are bad. Inspect any chimneys and masonry for cracks, loose mortar, or even if your chimney could be leaning. And then, if possible, look at the roof to see if you have any shifted or missing shingles, tiles, or gaps at the roof line, because that could mean that if when it rains, you're going to get a leak. You might have to, for any of these things, you might have to call a professional to do some of these inspections. And then examine the exterior walls and siding for bulging, for separation, for cracks in your corners. See if there's any window cracks or any door cracks. Then walk around the interior of your home. You want to look at your ceilings and walls. See if there's cracks there. They happen especially near doors, windows, and ceiling junctions. So take a really good look. Then look at your floors for any unevenness, any bulging, any gaps between floorboards or tiles. Um, Move the doors. You want to test the doors and windows. Make sure that they're open and closing smoothly, because if they start sticking, they might have some new gaps, and this could mean that there is another issue. And again, the fireplaces, which I love my fireplace, but examine it to see if any of your bricks are, if it's brick or stone or whatever kind of fireplace, if anything's damaged, and then look at the flues and check inside the firebox to see if there's any cracks. Again, you might have to hire a professional to double check. Now, the next thing that an earthquake can do is it can create water leaks. So check under all your sinks and behind the toilets for drips or leaks in any water lines. And that I was talking about the water heater earlier, but you better inspect the water heater to see if it's tilting or broken, or hopefully you have it secured by straps. Make sure those straps aren't broken. Then the outdoor water leaks, there's the irrigation control valves and sprinkler lines and any pipes. You could have a broken supply line. Now, you may not be able to find that until you turn your sprinklers on. And boy, that can be thousands of gallons of water loss, especially if it's a main line and it's, a couple of feet underground. You may not even know. So what the best way to check to see if you have a water leak is to go to your water meter, which is usually near the street, and see if, turn off all your water, make sure it's all off, and check to see if the water meter is spinning. Now, gas leaks. If suspected of a gas leak, shut off your gas, call 911. That's really important, because smell for gas or listen for any hissing near any gas lines. Um, Most gas now that comes into the house has a small little odor to it. But so check it. Check your gas stove, your kitchen, your heater, if closet. Your heater closet is generally inside your house. It might be in your garage. It might be in, if you have an upstairs, it might be in an upstairs closet. And the gas meter is usually on the side of the house. And that's where I was saying you can ask your meter company, your gas company, or a private company if they might be able to install an automatic shutoff. That means that even if it gets bumped, it would shut off. Now, if you have a pool or barbecue or fire pit, you want to make sure to check those connections as well. Now, electrical, we've talked about electrical a bit, but you can look at the electrical system for frayed wires, sparking, any breaker issues. And if you see any scorching around outlets or switches, those are all going to have to be changed out. So you definitely need to know where your electrical circuit breaker panels are located. And you have usually a main that is outside with all different panels. And usually there's the ones for the inside of the house, or the sub panel might be in a laundry room, might be in a closet. Um, if you haven't already, label all your circuit breakers very clearly so you'll know if something is tripped. and make sure you know how to turn off your main circuit breaker and any sub panel breakers. And of course, it's always good to have the name and phone number of a licensed electrician. Now, the first 72 hours after an earthquake are really, really critical in case you're having to go it alone for 3 to 7 days. What do you do? Because electricity, gas, water, telephones, they're usually not going to work. In addition, public safety services like police and fire departments are going to be super busy handling serious crises. So you need to be prepared to be on your own and be able to live without running water, electricity, gas, telephones for 3 days to a week or even more after an earthquake. So you want to keep some things on hand, and you can store your supplies in a plastic bin that are easily accessible. Um, or, I've always talked about having that go bag filled with all the essentials. So in case you're going to have to evacuate. So 7 to 10 gallons of water per person will last about 7 to 10 days for people to drink. And that's very important. So you need to keep that around in the garage and a shed somewhere. I mean, hydration at the start, if your body is already dehydrated, you're going to dehydrate faster. And without water, you cannot survive. Your water is really, really critical. With food, if you didn't have food, you could probably survive a couple of weeks, but without water, you're looking at a couple of days. Now, food, it's good to have at least a 7 day supply of non-perishable food. So that could be canned food, it could be things in your freezer. And if you have a freezer, you'd use that first. But make sure you have a manual can opener if you are using cans. Flashlight, important to have a flashlight. And I like having a flashlight that goes on your head. What's it called? A headlamp. And always have extra batteries. So you might want to keep a headlamp next to your bed, maybe one next to the door, because if an earthquake or an emergency happens when the power's out at night, it might be dark. So having that and then having your two hands would be great. Get a battery powered or hand crank radio, preferably an NOAA, NOAA weather radio. I have one of these and it's solar powered, so that's really great. And make sure you have at least a week's worth of your medications at all times. And that includes non-prescription medications. So again, if you have that go bag and you have everything in your go bag, you should be fine, but otherwise have things readily available. Because just remember, in a serious earthquake, rooms could be blocked, things could fall over, and you might not be able to get in there. So you really need to be self-sufficient. Well, I hope this all helps you to be safe. Always better to be safe rather than to be sorry, right? So thanks for joining me every week here on Starstyle, Be the Star You Are. Make sure you are tuned in with me, Cynthia Brian, on this Voice America, the media channel, the Voice America, it's an empowerment channel, actually. I like to bring you lifestyle advice so that you can change your life, make things happen, and make your dreams come true. For more information about Starstyle Productions or about me, visit cynthiabrian.com. You can also find any of my books at the Starstyle store. And again, anything bought there, the money does go to Be the Star You Are charity, cynthiabrian.com, and you get extra goodies. If you'd like to get involved with BeTheStarYouAre.org, that's where you would go for Be the Star You Are charity. And if you have a teen that's interested in becoming a radio reporter, shoot me an email there. Uh, let's see what else I want to say. Oh, yes, don't forget about my new book has just come out, Flap Forward, Fly Free. It's the fourth book in the Stella Bella Barnyard Adventures, and it's a really fun children's book with beautiful pastel watercolors. My aim is always to encourage, inspire, inform, amuse, and motivate. See beyond your physical being. Know you already are the star you dreamed of becoming. Cherish the past, dream of the future, and celebrate every moment of your life. And again, pick up the book, read it this week. Until we celebrate next week on the Starstyle Playground, remember that love always wins, kindness always prevails, and smiles will keep us happy. Be kind, be inclusive, tell the truth, live with integrity, embrace cultures, love unconditionally, encourage others, be generous, read, lead, succeed, communicate, collaborate, innovate, and be your unapologetically authentic self because everyone counts. So I thank you. I am Cynthia Brian. I encourage you to go out into the world and be the star you are. We'll be together next week. And until then, make it an amazing moment every